Chapter 6 is one of the longest presentations of material, and I'll say one of the most complicated chapters. But you need to master the information presented so that and because of the theory that falls within it, to be able to then transcribe properly. We will see how to look at words and determine what category they fall into based on where the stress falls. So what I have here first is I introduce two types of syllables. We've learned up until now that each word is broken up into syllables. Either a word will have one syllable, two syllables, three syllables, and on. Right now, when we're talking about is just single words, and for the rest of the chapter, that's where you're going to be looking at is single words. And now we have to determine if a syllable of a word is tonic or not. A tonic syllable is the syllable of the word that receives the stress. So looking at these words, gato, you'll see it's in the orthographic variation. You see that the stress syllable is bolded. You already know how to say this. We know not to say gato or frio or moneda, or moneda or sabado or sabado, only because we've heard these words quite frequently and know how to pronounce them. The problem comes when you are presented with a word that you've never seen before, which is frequent in when you're improving your Spanish and reading literature or writing your papers and you need more advanced vocabulary. You need to know what where the stress falls. Does the word need a stress? Written stress? Does it how come some words have the written accent mark and some don't? And that's what we're going to learn in this chapter. So I'm going to go back to the tonic syllable. Every word has only one tonic syllable. It's the syllable that receives the stress. When you transcribe that, it will always be accented. Here, in the orthographic word, the tonic syllable is already marked with an accent. That's the easiest way of transcribing because then you simply carry down that accent. It's what to do with these words in its orthographic form that do not carry accent marks. Tonic syllable is the syllable of the word that doesn't receive the stress. So there could be one, two, three, or more atonic syllables. Then I go here to talking about theory. We've got two rules now about accents. Chapters 1, 2 dealt with syllabification. Chapter 6, now you're going to see a couple more rules, but now these all deal with phonetic transcriptions and how to deal with them with their phonetic stresses. We're going to first look at words that do not have an orthographic stress. You can see all my examples that I have here have no stresses on them, have no accent marks. And so the rule is a word is an aguda, or it's when the syllable or the stressed syllable is the last one. It's when it ends with, anytime a word ends with a consonant that's not an N or an S, the word will always be stressed on that last syllable. So this word ends with a consonant that's not an N or S, and therefore we say lineal. And therefore, when we transcribe it, on top of syllabifying using our rules, now we can apply the stress to the right syllable. Cantidad ends with a consonant. Syllabify it according to our rules. And we know that since it ends with a consonant that is not an N or an S, we're going to put the accent where it needs to be. In your transcriptions, you do not have to bold. I'm just simply bolding in the notes so that it brings attention to you. Bailar, we already know by saying these words, we know how it sounds. We know that the stress is on the last syllable, but here's the rule. It's because it ends with a consonant that's not an N or an S. You syllabify it, and you need to add that accent. Same with capaz. Yes, it ends with a consonant. It is not an S, even though it sounds like an S, it is not the letter S, and therefore it will be an aguda, where the stress falls on that last syllable. I do have a note here. I will always underline the syllable in these orthographic words to show you where the tonic stress is, just to help those who maybe have never heard the word before, and also to help those who maybe have been pronouncing the words incorrectly all these years. Number two, rule number two, when we're dealing with words without accents, is a word is a llana or grave. That's another word that a linguist might hear. When the word ends with a vowel, N or S. A llana simply means that the stress is found in the second to last syllable. You can tell when we're talking about accents, we're always counting from the last syllable backwards. We never start from the first syllable and counting forward, but always the last syllable and backwards. So if we see here, gato ends with an O, that's a vowel, therefore it's going to be a llana. So we count one syllable, two syllables, and therefore you need to place that phonetic stress in that transcription on the second to last syllable. Palabra also ends with a vowel, so you count backwards, one, two, and that's where the stress is going to be, palabra. Same with frases, ends with an S. We have a vowel, N or S. We count backwards, one, two, second to last syllable is going to be stressed, frases, and that's where you can place the accent. Same with cantan. And here's the first exercise for you to work on. I will now do a number of them with you. I'm going to do a couple of the exercises in Práctica A for you. Again, this is from Chapter 6. We are doing a review of our rules dealing with words that do not have written accents on them. Words without written accents, you follow these two rules as a review. If it ends with a vowel, if it ends with a consonant, that's not an N or an S. It's an aguda. That means the stress is on the last syllable. If it ends with a vowel, N or S, it's a llana, where the stress is on the second to last syllable from the end. Always from the end. So if we're looking at number one, anticipar. This ends with a consonant that's not an N or an S, and therefore it's an aguda. That means the stress is there, anticipar. If I do number 5, 5 is the same one. Let's do number 6, ombligo, belly button. I'm sure you heard where I put the stress, ombligo, but now you're going to know the rule behind it. It ends with a vowel. If it ends with a vowel, it's going to be a llana. That means the stress is going to be right there. That means the stress. So I'm going to say that this is now a llana, second to last syllable. And I can also do number 28. 28 is frequently mispronounced by English speakers because of the influence of how we say the word in English. It's you pronounce it democracia. Now you heard how I said it. Now you're going to apply the rules to be able to categorize this word properly. It's a word without a written accent on it, ends with a vowel. Therefore, it's a llana. That means it's right here, democracia. Sometimes it's even a better exercise. We will do plenty of it in this chapter to simply start applying your transcription to the words to help you understand where the stress falls. This is a diphthong, therefore the stress is going to fall here, and this is how it's going to look in the phonetic transcription. Same with this. Again, you do not have to do this yet. Ends with a vowel, that means the stress is going to be here, and that's how you're going to see the difference between the orthographic word that doesn't have an accent, but all phonetic transcriptions need to have that written in. Good luck with the exercise.